Rambam, Sefer Tahara, the book of purity. We began yesterday the laws of kelim, vessels, implements, things that can become impure. 7 different types of things. So now we speak about a wooden implement in chapter 3. Any wooden kli that is made with the intent that it remain in one place, even though it is made to contain only a small amount, is not susceptible to ritual impurity, neither according to scriptural law nor according to rabbinic law. Okay. Or to rabbinic. Conversely, any wooden kli that is intended to be carried, whether full or empty, like a sack, even if it holds 100 saw and has a base, since it is not intended to remain in one place, it is susceptible to a ritual impurity according to scriptural law and other receptacles. Because a vessel means an implement, it means it needs to be movable. If it's staying in one place, right, even though it's, it's made, it's not called a kli. Okay? That's the parameter of it. Okay. Right. Whenever a kli's use is undefined, if it has a base to rest upon on the ground so that it was not easily rolled. So not easily rolled, and it could hold 40 saw of liquid measure, which equals 2 core of dry measure. It's not susceptible to impurity at all, neither scriptural or rabbinic, because it can be assumed that it's not intended to be moved. Right, 40 saw is like the size of a old-fashioned phone booth, right? So it's a large wooden item, and since it has a base, so we don't assume that it's going to be moved. Now, of course, if it is something moved, it's a different story. No, the idea is that if it's not moved, so sort of like connected to earth, so something that's connected and rooted to its source, so to speak, then it's not susceptible to impurity. Okay? The concept is over here is that something that it can be used by man could be either elevated or downgraded, right? So when it's something that doesn't have that, even though there's a usage here, right? But it's rooted to its source, so it's not considered, rooted on the ground, so it's not considered to be an implement, right? That would be my understanding of the concept of it behind it. It's not susceptible to impurity, exactly. It's like the earth itself is not susceptible to impurity, right? Or water on the earth is not. But if you take water and now cup it in your hands, it's not of the earth anymore, right? It's not of the ground anymore. It's not in its source anymore, right? So something's out of its source has a possibility for it to be susceptible to impurity, which kind of makes sense. It's like in utero, hey, you're pure. You came out, okay. It's all downhill. Right, exactly. You just stay here in utero.
Set up a cot.
Yeah. These principles are part of the received tradition. According to the oral tradition, it was taught that just as a sack is carried, whether full or empty, so to a wooden implement is not susceptible to impurity unless it would be carried full or empty. This exclusive wooden implement that is intended to remain in one place. Right. So how do we know this principle? Remember, I gave an understanding to it, but it's not based on the understanding. It's based on Torah declaring so. And there's different ways to learn out. So we learn this out because by a sack is one of the 7 things, right? Material that's made. Clothing is, because it's also an implement, right? So a sack, which is made to be carried, made to move, right? So from there, we understand that also a wooden implement is something that was made to move. That's the oral tradition. In other words, it's not clear from the written word, but that's how we learn it out.
Even if it's an empty sack.
Right.
Exactly. So
Well, the important point is that you're moving the sack.
right.
So the wooden implement that is not moved will not be kalim that are made to remain in one place, a chest, a counter, a closet, a beehive-like container made of reeds, a reservoir of drinking water for a large ship, and the like. If they contain 40 saw, they are not susceptible to ritual impurity. The following wooden kalim that are intended to be moved even when they are full, which is a large barrel of water that is placed on a wagon, right? Meant to be moved because you need, water needs to be brought somewhere, right?
Then again,
A food trolley of kings, a leather maker's trough, a water reservoir of a small ship that cannot sail on a large sea, and a coffin. Even though all of these 5 types of wooden kalim contain more than 40 saw, they're susceptible to impurity because initially they were made to be carried while full. Right? They were made to be carried. Right? Coffin was made to be to carry a person in it, right, to the grave. It can be assumed that all other wooden containers that are made to hold 40 saw that have a base are not meant to be carried when full. Therefore, they are not susceptible to ritual impurity. Similar containers made of bone or leather that hold 40 saw of liquid measure are not susceptible to impurity unless they are initially made to be carried when they are full. If they are made for that, right? So again, that's the whole idea. Large chests, counters, closets of glass are pure. Other glass containers, even if they hold more than 40 saw, are susceptible to ritual impurity. This is an added stringency that applies to glass kalim over wooden kalim.
thing.
Well, other glass containers, even if they hold 40, because they are meant to be moved, so this is more stringent than the wooden kalim. Okay. Unfortunately, folks, I have to stop here. God bless you all.
Thank you, Rabbi, for your time.
Yeah. Have an amazing day.